Do this today. Good morning, my ride and die supporters. How are you? This your girl Casey McDaniel coming to you on this beautiful Thursday of July 1st, the first day of July. It's getting hotter than July, like Stevie Wonder say. Woo! Okay, we're gonna get into it. Good morning. Amazing. Yes, I got this girl over here with me today, and she cutting up. She is cutting up today. I don't even know if it's gonna rain or whatever. I'm looking out this the storm door this morning. Look, young lady, okay, you gonna calm down because I'm here right now. No more treats. Anyway, as I was saying, what's cooking, y'all? What is good, y'all? I don't like the way this light is on me. Calm it down a little bit. Ooh. Yes, I was looking out the screen door over here, and I'm just trying to figure out whether it's gonna rain or whatever, because we're gonna get ready to go for our little walk for the day. And I'm gonna turn this down in the background. I love this song. Yes, God knows our name. He knows our name. Yes, he does. You know, we are so happy that we seen some progress, progress. The devil didn't win. Great American Dad Bill Cosby was released yesterday. I was just celebrating all day long after getting that good praise report, because there's no reason he should have been in there in the first place over something that he supposedly done 40 or something so years. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Pamela. Good seeing you, girl. Yes, I don't know what it is with me. Maybe it's old age or whatever, but ever since I've been home, since I have not been working for the last couple of weeks, I've been tired. I've been really tired. I've been getting my rest in. That just tells you that God is preparing me for another assignment, so I gotta rest up. I gotta rest up, because ain't no telling what I'm gonna be out there doing. Yeah, on the new job I'll be going on. So right now I'm busy right now because I wanted to take this time off anyway, so I could have more time into my R. Kelly stuff. Because keeping up with R. Kelly, because while I was at work, I could barely kept up with all that was going on with Robert Sylvester Kelly, and that didn't make me feel too good because I was all behind. I'm still kind of catching up. No rest for the weary. I'm telling you, no rest for those wicked folks out there. People just some people are just still saying, and I can't believe that some of the people from the African American community still want to see this man, this 80-something years old man, in jail. These women are out here something else. Now, last night I went on Kwame Brown's channel, Bus Life. I love Kwame Brown. I just love, I do. I think he just keeps it so real, and we so far behind and doing so much that we need to do for ourselves. If we want to still get further and further ahead through all we've been through. So we fighting with reparations right now, and it shouldn't be, that don't make no sense. That we still should be fighting for reparations as African American people. He's 20 years that man stayed quiet, and they woke up a giant. You know what I'm saying? Like, he sat back while they continue to, mock him, make fun of him, and all that other stuff. And he just came back and he just busted life. Just say bust life. I don't want to say foul language here because I don't, know a lot of people here. They are very much into not wanting to cuss and don't want to listen to that kind of language. But I'm just gonna say bust life, okay? And cooked them up in his mama's kitchen. Yes, cook them up in his mama's kitchen, and we just got to get better with behavior too. And that's another reason why I didn't want to use any foul language. I know sometimes it's so hard, it's so hard, it's so hard. But some people you just gotta, you know. But I was on his live last night, and he was doing one on. Good morning, nobody's anything. Yes, I got your message. Yes, I'm going to be sending that. Okay, I'm gonna shoot you an email ASAP. Let me see if I could shoot one right about now. Um, y'all can still see me up in there. You know what? Where's my phone at? I'm gonna shoot you an email, nobody's. Good morning, I'm riding solo. Good morning. Thank you for stopping by. Yes, I was listening to Kwame Brown yesterday, and I'm glad he had mentioned something about Robert Sylvester Kelly. I was like, oh my God, but Kwame, it's been over 30 something years. Robert Sylvester Kelly's been making music. But you know, Kwame's a lot younger, so he probably started at a certain time listening to his music or whatever. But Kwame had touched on some very important things, and he was on factual on some things about why would people still want to see this man locked up? Why, you know, these allegations or whatever that he should be there. I don't know what went on in his bedroom. I wasn't there, but from what I'm hearing and what I saw, it don't seem right the way they locking him up. And this man just came for his masters, and all of a sudden, when he came for his masters, they come with these allegations against him about him allegedly being with underage minors or with minors and things like that. Yes, we know there was an infamous tape, but that infamous tape was over 30 something years ago, and we don't even know if that was R. Kelly. And nobody could really determine the age, so he was acquitted on that trial. Even though some people say, oh, his brother wanted him to lie and say it was him and all this other stuff. I don't believe nothing Carrie say, because anytime a junkie will tell you anything just for a hit. Okay? If Carrie was like a real, you know, Christian man and he had his act all cleaned up and everything, and if he said something like that, yeah, I'll probably go with it. I'll rock with it. But Carrie, you have issues. Okay, and we all know that when you go on a public platform and people are dragging your family member, and you're going to sit right up there in the public and feed them. Yeah, anytime you're going to sit up there and you're going to sit down and tell all your family history to somebody that's out to hurt your family member, then you are up to no damn good. You know, and ain't nobody going to believe you. Because it sounds to me it's more like out of jealousy or whatever. And then you was sitting up there, I don't know, the one that was sitting up in prison, you giving all this information to Tasha K. And we're going to get into Tasha K in a minute. But let me just finish saying what I have to say about what Carrie did. You know, there's a lot of things I totally disagree about what family members of mine that do, my siblings, whatever. And, you know, we not 100% always on the same level and on one accord with one another. But the last thing I'm going to do is sit up on social media or on a social network to the public and disgrace my family member. We're going to deal with that off the scene. We're not going to deal with that in the public on social media. And that's the thing that I didn't like about what Carrie done. Now, Bruce, for instance, he was very careful about what he said. He was like, my brother, you know, I say he got problems, but being with younger women, he's been with younger women, but not young women, you know, like saying they not women that were of age. That's what Carrie, that's what Bruce said. So Carrie, you know, he just was looking for a bag. Thought that was going to bring him some popularity. Well, it did bring him popularity, but it didn't bring him popularity in a good way. It didn't bring him in a good way. So, you know, to keep himself clean or whatever. So, I just couldn't rock with him, you know, saying all that things, especially when his brother was under the fire and, you know, they was ready to put his brother to the cross and all this other stuff was going on. He still had stuff to throw on his brother. And I just thought that was like not good at all. I just really, truly think that's been something the family could have dealt with more off the scene. taking in consideration that really, truly, none of us are perfect. And we know we sometimes got some family members that can be assholes. And once they get to a certain status, economic status, they start to shit on you and start to talk to you all kind of goddamn ways and try to treat you like shit, like you dumb and you ain't about nothing and whatever. And what they do is just more important than what you do. We know that, okay? We all got family members out there that do stuff like that. But one thing some of us do know, like my family, of course, and what we were taught to go to the word of God and pray about it. You know, we was taught to know how to, some things are just not good to tell everybody about your family. Because most of the time when you're talking against your family members, you also talking about you. So anyway, because that's your blood, that's your flesh and blood. So you got to be careful how you send messages out there to people, or when you talk against members of your family and things like that. You got to be really, really careful about when you do stuff like that. So that's why I couldn't rock with Carrie. Carrie's a liar. Carrie seemed jealous. Carrie seemed like he wanted to be more of R. Kelly. He wanted some attention from people, the women, and all that other stuff. And what I hear about the other brother, I don't know. I don't know what they do in their personal life, but I'm just going by what I saw here on social media when he went on Tasha K's channel. Now, getting on Tasha K. Now, yesterday when I was on Kwame's channel, he did do a live, and he wanted to talk about behavior, deviant behavior, and is this acceptable behavior between Tasha K and some stuff she was going back with Jason, whatever his name is, Jason Lee or something Lee dude, and the dude seemed to use his alternative life to do what he want to do, like say the things he want to say to a woman, and him still, regardless to him having an alternative life, he's still a man. Okay, you are still a man, and there's just some things you just don't speak disgraceful of a woman as being a man, even if you are in an alternative life, using that as an excuse to me, because it's like anytime we say something about your lifestyle or whatever, we're under attack, and I've been saying that for years and years and years. Nobody else had to come and tell me that. I just knew it from a long time ago. I wish I could put a link up of one of my old videos, okay, from my other channel, Miss Car One. That's one of my other channels that I had before all of this. A lot of stuff that I'm speaking on right now is a lot of stuff I used to speak on my other channel on YouTube. When I have opened up another YouTube, Miss Car One, that's me, okay? I was a little younger then, and I was just like, but nothing that at that time I was going after Eddie Long doing wrong. The pastor Eddie Long that was doing wrong up in Lithonia, Georgia, when he was supposedly allegedly alerted young boys from his Longfellow Academy and was giving gifts to these young men and taking them on trips. And, these were young men coming from a single mother's household. And yes, I went hard on Eddie Long because you know why? Because I knew I got to meet Eddie Long personally. Okay, I got to see some things about Eddie Long. God forgive me for speaking ill of the dead, but I'm only speaking of when I met Eddie Long. I met Eddie Long in my church in New York. He came for our men's ministry. Of course he did, and he spoke for our men's ministry. And this is just some things that I went in the Bible and I looked at, and this is what I'm looking at. Anytime I feel a man is leading in leadership, especially as a man of God, some things just need to stay traditional. Okay. One of the things that I look at is if you're wearing a robe. Okay. A second thing I'm going to look at is the community that you're in. If I don't see any growth there or anything, like people building, economically building, socially building in that community, as far as the church, because the church is the heartbeat to the community, and it's where everybody is supposed to get, the money that goes out. Because when they talk about the building fund is to take care of that community, to take care of whatever that community is in need of. That's what I see as the building fund. Some of y'all may have not understood that, because I know I was a religious tither. Okay, I tithe religiously. And I seen my growth. I seen my spiritual blessings come to me from doing that. And the things that places God has taken me from doing that, no matter where I lived or what job that I got, I always got the best of things in life for my good, you know, not fellowship, but I'll say when you give time, somebody help me out. But just doing dedicated to my work for the Lord or whatever like that. Well, right now I'm unable to do so due to the fact that who's this? Hold on 1 second. Because I have some people that's come in here to pick up my old car that's in the back there because they want the parts to it or whatever like that. So I'm just trying to wait for them. So just give me a minute. I'll be back. No, that wasn't them. But anyway, back to what I was saying about Eddie Long doing wrong and about how I got to meet him. I did get to meet him from, fellowshipping at my church, and he was speaking. He was one of the men's speakers for our men's ministry. Thank you, I Ride Solo. Yes, my glasses. Yeah, ain't they cute? These are the only clips. Let me tell you, I got other glasses, but I like these the most. I like these the most. These are my favorite. Thank you. Yeah, so the thing is that I did get to meet him personally. I didn't like the way he was acting up on the stage and the way he was performing, how vain he was acting and doing all that stuff. And then I looked at my Bible and I said, Christ never wore any fancy apparel from what I understood from what I got in the reading from the word. I said Christ always wore a robe, but he didn't wear any fancy apparel. He wasn't wearing a robe that was so royal. He was down to earth with the people. He was down there for the people to see him as himself, see him as themselves. You know what I'm saying? So he was able to interact with the people and get out there with the people and everything to do the healing and the ministry that he was using to take care of God's people. And especially his own people, which we're supposed to do as God's people too. We got to know how to take care of our own before we can take care of anybody else. Not that I'm speaking anything of hatred or racism or anything else like that, but I'm just saying who Christ was from what I got from the text. And then I just realized that Christ wasn't driving in no fancy car. I mean, he wasn't riding in a chariot. He was riding on a donkey. So what is these pastors showing you when they out here in these fancy apparel, they wives with the fanciest hats on and all this fly Nubian stuff and just looking so diva-ish and all about this vanity and all this stuff. And then I look in the word of God and I said, no, God, Christ ain't about that, but Christ ain't about being a mess either. But I'm just saying that, when you see a community of people going through suffering and everything, don't you got to come down to their level to bring them to where you want to take them? They got to see that work through you. So I'm looking in the word of the text. That's why I said I don't follow the messenger. I follow the message. Because I'm looking in my text as long as I'm looking at these so-called religious leaders. And I'm saying all these prosperity preachers and everything. Christ didn't preach all the time about money this and money that and doing this and doing that. He came down to earth with the people. But in his leadership as the shepherd leading his flock, he always wore something, a robe, but he didn't wear nothing so fancy and all decked out to be, able to get the people to know what he was trying to teach them. I mean, really what it was all about. We all start from humble beginnings. And especially even in the word of God, we all start as a mustard seed, real small, mustard seed, you could barely see it, right? So eventually that mustard seed, eventually that mustard seed gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But it all starts out like you got to have faith as a mustard seed and everything. So when you come into the Lord and everything, and who coming for real and who's not coming real. Like you come to see people when they first come out, to church and everything, who's the ones coming there to help God's people. And then you can see those who are not growing. For instance, I'm going to use this as an example. You came as a hoe, right? You used to be a hoe. You used to be a whore. You could say a prostitute or whatever. You was one of those type of women. when you was out in the world. So you come as you are, right? You come in your little skimpy clothes, or you come dressed on, you know, like this is your first. You just come into the Lord. You know, this is new to you. I mean, you're a new child in the Lord. You're a baby in Christ. You know, put it that way. So you come like that, and I can see, you come in, and as you come faith more and more faithfully, you'll see the changes in your life. If you in the Word, you're gonna see your changes in your life. If you're not in the Word, you're gonna still stay where you at or where you come from. Okay, so everything is like, to me, because I know, because when I came as a child, it's a lot of stuff I couldn't understand. I used to be like, damn, when we going home? I'm tired of all of this church. That's how I used to be sitting up there in service sometimes. And I had elders in the church, my great aunt and everything else like that, because her son which was my godfather, was the pastor of that church and stuff. And he used to have church going on all day. We'd go down, we'd eat dinner, then the next thing you know, we right back up in the church, and here comes some woman, this prophetess or whatever she was, used to come in the evening time. Oh, mother so-and-so gonna be here tonight. Oh, we had to sit again for the rest of the evening in church because of mother so-and-so. And sometimes she'll come on Easter. We spent the whole Easter in church. I used to be like, Dad, I didn't get it. I didn't get it as a child. And then I realized that the elders that were there in those times, that's because they already had that's where they found all their happiness, their joy, their peace. That's why they wanted to stay so long. Some of them had some husbands that were still dealing with doing things like one of my aunt's husband was an alcoholic. He wouldn't go to church, all that past, all he wanted money. See, these people want to stay in their sins, so they don't want to come there and get called out. But my aunt was there because that's where she found all her happiness and her peace and her joy and her hope. Because her husband was an alcoholic, and when she came home, she had to she had to have that was sitting up in her house. And in those days, that's all they knew. You know what I'm saying? They man was their sole provider in their household. She didn't work or nothing like that. She probably, she didn't. She depended solely on her husband to support her. She didn't. I mean, it was what it was. So a lot of those women, I've seen them had these struggles going on in their life, and I seen my grandparents' life. I seen not my grandmother. My grandmother, she didn't work either, but she had a land, farm, all that stuff down in the South, and she was taking care of raising children, and her husband worked. And I mean, one thing my grandfather did was he brought every last one a piece of his children, a piece of property, and before he died, he made sure he built my grandmother's house from the ground up himself. Before he laid himself to rest, and he made sure most of his children, when they finished school, they either had a trade to start out with, or they went to college and they got an education. That's what my grandfather did. My grandfather made sure he did that for my aunties and my mom. She just decided she came to New York and stuff, but that was her life choice. She wanted to get married, have a family, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying, in those times, so when we go into the Word of God and when we look back in the stories of Christ, and I look at these poverty pastors and these elders up in the church, like Kwame Brown is saying, now it's time now to stop giving your money to these people, because they really not doing much for the Black community. We still shouldn't be so behind in so many things. This stuff should not have gotten out of control where they allowed this alternative lifestyle to have so much power today. The churches should have been going on. Maybe what happened to maybe what happened to Eddie Long for doing wrong. A lot of people backed out and didn't want to continue to keep that fight going, that they didn't want the same-sex marriages, and they seen how he was probably set up. And they put some of them people in his thing. And I was going along with it too. Because at that time, I didn't know any better. But now that I seen all of this coming at us, and all the things they just did to Robert Sylvester Kelly, and the things they did to, also the things they did to, my great American dad, Bill Cosby, the things that happened to Michael Jackson, the things that happened to Prince, the things that happened to so many other, males and Black men in the industry and Black men in general that been great in power, and how they just find their own people to get into the groups and get into our communities and just make us turn and start destroying one another. And they know how to get to us. They know how to plant. in the community, because people are put it this way, people are so thirsty out there, for hungry for a job, and all this stuff they feeding us on television, all the glamorizing, the lifestyle of certain lifestyles. It makes people fall for all of that. Parents ain't getting up because like people like Drea that gets up here and say bad things about the being a child raised up by a grandfather who was a pastor but went home and beat his wife. But Drea, I don't want to talk more about Drea. Only God knows what she did out of her wicked deeds, and just her bitterness and her anger that this man did not want her anymore. Okay, and he had to get rid of her. All that stuff coming out of her now. I don't even want to hear it, Drea. You should have stopped that from the gate. From the time y'all was both doing y'all vows at the altar or whatever. You could have caught that right then and there. Man dressed up in a nautical suit, taking you to the altar. That wouldn't have happened, especially if he got money like he's a man like Robert Sylvester Kelly. Why would he be taking me to the altar in a nautical suit instead of putting a gown on me and, me and him have our wedding party as our bridesmaids and our groomsmen and all this other stuff? Why I'm signing all these? Come on, Drea. That's what she said. And then he destroyed all the wedding photos. When I know, and a lot of you other married women, and I spoke about this before, most of the time when we keep a photo of memories, especially those priceless memories of us getting married and going to to our first husband, whether we was with our first husband, second, or third, we always keep those in our treasures. Photos of those special moments in our treasures. Okay, so I'm not falling for her story. I'm sorry, I can't fall for this woman's story. Playing the victim story. She ain't no victim. If anything, she's trying to make R. Kelly look like a villain, and she's a victim. She ain't no victim. If anything, she was the villain. Okay, and she used her size and her weight so people could look at that and say, yeah, she kind of a small little petite little woman. Yeah, he probably was beating up on her. Yeah, he probably was doing this to her and doing that to her and neglecting them kids and doing that and financially abusing and bringing women all up in the house and doing it. Exactly. A woman gonna keep all that stuff of her life. A woman that was supposed to be like a woman that really truly loved her husband and loved her family and everything. And I mean, understand things may happen. Fires might break out. You might have a fire and lose some of those memories. But I remember getting my school pictures and stuff. My mother was sending them things out to family members all over the place on the same simple fact that even if we did have a fire, somebody gonna have a photo to remember those precious moments. Another thing I could never understand about Drea is that where was your family? You said your mother and your parents and everything. You was engaged to be married to somebody else. Yeah, you was engaged to be married to somebody else, right? This fiance that you had before you got with Robert Sylvester Kelly. And because of all your time at the studio or doing whatever you're doing, you didn't have too much time for that relationship anymore. You spending more time under Robert than you was doing with your fiance, spending more time there than with your fiance. I ain't buying her story. I'm sorry. She's she's crappy. Her stories has just got so many holes in it, so much lies in it. Jezebel, Delilah, she all that. Okay, she used all her wickedness, her powers to do wicked deeds, to do wickedness, and to have them children and try to play and saying all these horrible things and mistreating those kids. In a way, that's kind of like mistreating them, and then talk about you love them, but then you sitting up here and publicly dragging their dad and saying the things you saying about their father. That's not love to me. I would have been like, on the sake of my kids, I'm not going to speak on this stuff because I don't want them to, hear this stuff about their dad, and I want to protect my children. That's what you would have been saying. All I got to say, we going to deal with this when he get through all of this stuff. We get with his rightfully ours when he gets done with this. I'm just going to have to, work on my studio and work with dancing and work on raising my family. And then stop using your grandfather's life and your grandmother's life for your excuse for being with a man like Robert Sylvester Kelly, saying that you was with a man like Robert Sylvester Kelly who was physically abusing you because you grew up in that household. That's bullshit. Anybody that saw something as a child and abuse or whatever, they are going to try to turn around and do the opposite. Not the same pattern. Most, especially if you knew you grew up with biblical principles. Okay? So don't tell that doggone lie there. I know. I didn't choose the lifestyle of my mother because there was some things that I saw in my parents' marriage that I did not want to become. Okay? Some things. Not all things, but some things. Okay? So I was able to make that decision for myself if I wanted to live the life of my mother and follow the same pattern that she followed, or I wanted to do something totally different and do my thing and live my life the way I wanted to choose and do so. So anyway, because it was not easy for my mother to be raising 7 daughters and 2 boys by herself, 9 children, when my father couldn't sometimes provide for her because of some things he was out there doing. So it wasn't easy. So I did not want that kind of man for a husband. Okay? Anyway, moving on back to now, we're going to talk about Tasha K. Now, I think I was talking about the fact about deviant behavior, and Kwame Brown was talking about that. And I did leave the Kwame Brown when she was going at it with Jason Lee and Tasha K, and he started saying some horrible things to Tasha K, calling her all kind of B words, and said some horrible things about her, saying a man that had to be with you and have a baby with you had to be a crackhead. And then on top of that, talked about her child and called her child a beast. Tasha went off, and Tasha was like, yo, you don't talk about my family. You leave my family out of this mess, and and you this, that, and the other. Then she started getting foul with her language and start cussing him out, and they was going, they just doing their thing, whatever her and this Jason dude. I don't really know him. I just was on Kwame Brown. So Kwame Brown basically was saying that it wasn't right for him to talk that way to her, even though he might be have an alternative, such and such a lifestyle. Because if I was a man, I was a heterosexual man to talk that way, I'll be in such and such a place. But since he got this alternative lifestyle, he's not being held accountable for what he's saying and doing whatever to this woman. And I said to him, I couldn't see neither one of them doing anything right in the sight of God. I had to make that kind of judgment because I know Tasha K had done some horrible things. Tasha K had said some horrible things about spoke on other people's children's life, and as well, because I even said to Tasha K, be careful when she was up there dragging R. Kelly and putting out false information about him and doing her, building up her, getting her followers and everything to do whatever she was doing against Robert Sylvester Kelly during his trial and his life and when he was under attack. And Tasha K was one of the main #1 channels that used to come day in and day out, just dogging R. Kelly, saying all kind of horrible things about R. Kelly and about his lifestyle and what he was doing. And some things wasn't even true. And she was putting out false rumors and gossip and to make her life, make her channel grow and to get the publicity that she got. So I always say that your evil always enter your own heart, meaning sometimes the things you do to people will come back to you in full fold. And maybe this dude used to be a follower of hers. You know what I'm saying? Because most of those alternative people are a follower of Tasha K. But a lot of people, because they like all that ratchetness and all that, let's get down and dirty with each other's kind of stuff. So Tasha K got back the things she said about Robert Sylvester Kelly during her pregnancy. And I always keep telling women, especially women, men too, but being that the woman is the one who gives birth to a son, be careful about how you speak on someone else's life, especially when you don't really know the truth. And if you were not an eyewitness to it or anything else like that, and you didn't try to correct it when it was happening, before you started to go off and say whatever you want to say, when you want to follow other people saying it out there, you just got to be careful. And I tell this to every woman out there, talk about they love. I tell it to my sister too. Sometimes when she came at me with R. Kelly and all that stuff, I said, let me tell you something. You got a son, okay? An inspiring to be an athlete, an inspiring athlete. Be careful what you say about that man. Speak on that man's life. Oh yeah, I used to say it to family members all the time. As soon as they start coming with the attacks, I said, you got a son. That's the first place I go. Even Christ said it himself. People need to be careful how they speak on someone else's life, especially those who have children. I wish I could go in the scriptures and show you that right now. I don't got my Bible in front of me. But the next time I do come here, I'm going to look that scripture up just so I'll be ready. Woe to those who have children when I come. Okay? So, meaning that if you're going to sit up here and badmouth, oh, it started raining. Yes, I knew it was going to rain. I see the rain. Sorry, baby. We're not going to be able to make it out there. I'm going to just have to send you out that way. Yeah, because it started raining. But I'm just saying, like, people got to be careful about following some of the things people be saying out here about that man. Especially those who are mothers with sons, even with daughters. But I mostly say with sons, because you know how mothers are with their sons. So you got to be careful how you speak on someone else's life. So that dude, whatever his name, Jason, whatever Lee, whatever his name was, or that Kwame was, saying deviant behavior, is this acceptable? No, it's not acceptable. From neither one of them. It's not acceptable. And especially if they got a large number of followers on their social media page or whatever, and they act in this kind of way, in this behavior. They should know how to do this without putting it in the public, in front of other people, how it's getting around to other people. They should carry themselves in a more, respectable manner. Both of them. I'm not going to just say Tasha K. I'm going to say him too. Regardless of his so-called alternative lifestyle. And there's a lot of people that have that lifestyle that would agree with me, that would say they don't accept that behavior from their community, from any of the so-called men from their community. A lot of them will agree, say, look, we ain't about that ratchetness. He ain't one of us. Okay? Because some of them know how to do it with maturity and cleansiness, and do it with, in a better way than what he presented. As he represent his people. Because those his people. They're not the black people. Those the LGBTQ community. Stop putting everybody just because they black, they in black community. No, if you black, you just about the doing what's right for our community and building what's right in our community. Okay? That's the LGBTQ community. So it needs to be addressed to their community to get their people right. But anyway, nobody's anything. I'll send you this email, because I know you've been, and I'm just saying it just wasn't right. And I know Tasha said a lot of harmful things out of her mouth and harmed a lot of people by saying it. She harmed a lot of celebrities, Cardi B, all of that. Even though I'm not a Cardi B follower, but Tasha K, she did some things, to people, and it's just gonna come back at her full force. And is she gonna accept it or she don't accept it? Then she's gonna talking about my son. Well, you talked about Joanne's son. May her soul rest in peace. You talked about Joanne's son. Robert Sylvester Kelly, somebody's baby too. That's somebody's child. He had a mama. She may not be here right now with us physically. She absent from the body, but she is present with the Lord. And she knows that these women, what some of y'all did to her son. And she's watching over him as his guardian angel. So y'all talked about Robert Sylvester Kelly. That's Joanne's baby too. That's her baby boy too. Just because my parents ain't here, don't think they're not looking over me from the heavens. I know they're not in no other place but there, because they did the best they can while they were here on earth. And they did teach us about the Lord. They brought each and every last one of their children to the Lord. Yes, they did. So they did whatever, they did the best they can. And I know God don't give you no more than what you can bear. Okay, and I'm here as a witness. I am a living testimony for my parents. So Tasha K, you talked about Joanne's baby boy. Now somebody coming attacking your baby boy. You're telling these women and everything, stop talking bad about another person's life, especially when you wasn't there. I'm trying to get to this. I'm trying to find you in my, what you call it, stand up. I mean, not stand up. I'm sorry. Nobody's anything, somebody's everything. That's my new name for her. She says nobody's anything. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do this. You know what? Stand up. I'm going to do another video and I'm going to send it to you. Okay, I just shot out the email. Yeah. So I'm just saying and everything. Like sometimes we get out here and we say things and we don't realize what we're saying, and then we gotta pray about it. See, I haven't given birth to any children. Well, I don't have any children, living children anyway, that I had, whatever. I don't have any living children. But I do think of my family member children, and I do think about those young people, and I do want to be out here to help other families members out here, people that I don't know, they children, to let them have some hope in the world, and show them a better way of doing things and correcting my behavior to the public. I know it's so hard sometimes. I say things and I look back and I said that, and I be cussing somebody out the next day. People will take you there. But I try not to do it here as much on social media. I really try to hold my peace while I'm on social media, because there's a whole lot of people that I feel like cussing out. And just the other day I was on Facebook and I saw an article that said that one of R. Kelly fans, did they chalk the sidewalk, whatever. And a lot of people was saying on here, some people were running with it, saying that they had they had the inmates on lockdown, but the inmates wasn't on lockdown. They just, they just wanted to just check to see what was going on first. And then they said, oh, it's okay. Because they have to, of course, they have to protect Robert Sylvester Kelly while he's in their custody. And of course, he is a high profile inmate, So they probably went to look to see if anything wasn't said, nasty, horrible things said about him. That's what they saw. So then they said it was only a time, just for a minute, but then no prisoners were held in their cell for the remaining of the day and on lockdown, whatever. They just needed to just make sure security and everything was okay out there. That's all. If people would have read the article and stopped just looking at what they want to see and just heard prisoners had been locked down, no. They were not locked down. Go back and read the article, because they were not locked down. And I'm saying that because that was nobody's anything, somebody's everything that did it and everything. But they had cars parked over it and everything that says R. Kelly. But they did say unmute R. Kelly. He did not do this type of thing. And it was just cute. I mean, the article and everything, but at least she made the papers in New York. And they recognize that we got some fighters out there, and I'm pretty sure some of them reporters out there fighting for him too. They just not identifying themselves. But anyway, your girl Casey McDaniel, I am done with this live for this morning. I may be back with you this afternoon, depending on how my day goes. I just want to say thank you for coming in this morning. I hope you all have a blessed and wonderful morning. Just wanted to go over some things with you of what I went been through for the evening, but I will be back with you all later on this afternoon. Thank you. I just saw somebody come in. Please hit that like button as you enter in or enter out. So I am ready to get off this live, so you can watch the replay of it when I'm done. Okay, so you all have a blessed and wonderful rest of the afternoon, and if God's willing, I'll be back with you all later. Love you. Peace.